All right, guys, let's talk quivers. Now, I haven't used a lot of quivers on the market, but I have used a slide on Selway since the second I picked up a stick bow. The eye-catching attention to detail is kind of what got me headed in that direction. Then after I had a phone conversation or two with Drew, I knew I wanted to support everything they had going on. The slide on is my flavor, but they make a bolt-on, strap-on, and even a quick detach. If you want a fancy logo or insignia put on there, just give them a call. They've always been over backwards to get me anything I needed or wanted, and I know they'll be no different with anyone that gives them a shout. Quality people, quality products, and made in America by Americans. What more could you ask for? All right, welcome to this week's episode of the Stickbow Chronicles, brought to you by Black Widow Bows. This is your co-host, Blake, speaking. This week, had to do a little bit of a last-minute episode. Got Cody Greenwood on here, just kind of BS'd a little bit. Didn't really have time to line anything else up. Sorry, Cody, you're the C team, brother. But no, it was good conversation. Just normal BS session, no different than him and I talk on the phone, just kind of hit the record button and took off. But no, I've been super busy. Rob's been super tied up, so just been pretty limited on time. But we wanted to get something out, and this is kind of where we landed. We kind of cover all bases, kind of what Cody's got going on. Talk a little bit of equipment and talk about mindset, mental toughness, things that certainly supersede equipment and all the stuff that we like to talk about most of the time. So anyways, I'll keep this short and sweet. If you've got your I Hunt Close Tradkill 2021 entries, make sure and get those sent in. It's ihuntcloseofficial@gmail.com. Do not private message those to us. Email them to that email and get those things sent in. Yeah, that's all I got this week. I want to thank the sponsors real quick. Got Kifaru International, Selway Archery, the Footage Shaft, Backwoods Grind Coffee Company, and of course, Black Widow Bows. All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Let's get out of here. Okay, you ready to start?
Yeah. Welcome to the full quiver with Cody Greenwood. I never shoot shit, so I always got plenty of arrows.
Oh, that's a way to start it off. That's funny. We're gonna start calling your
don't use that. Don't use that.
We're gonna start calling your segments the full quiver.
Yeah, with Gutshot Greenwood, the full quiver with Gutshot Greenwood.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
We'll have the hee-haw section of the Stickbow Chronicles.
Well, this week, as you can tell, we're gonna have Gutshot Greenwood on this week instead of Cody Greenwood. This is kind of a last second ditch attempt at getting a podcast out. Me and Rob have both been burning it at both ends, so been super busy. So we had to call in the third string team.
That's right. And rock bottom. Rock bottom.
We've hit rock bottom and had to call Cody. Couldn't really get a hold of anybody else this last minute, and he's desperate for attention, so I knew he'd want to come on the podcast.
Yeah, everybody else had a date.
Well, what have you been working on, man?
Everything work's busy in itself, and then of course, working on the single string show stuff and launching the Trad Lab channel. I'm moving the bow reviews over. We were just talking about all the hardware I had here, so I can get that on video and have some good quality audio so people can hear the bows a little bit better than just control charts. So trying to get the studio up and running like you can see behind me and get all of that in order and play catch up in the Trad Lab.
What do you got going on with the single string show? What's that?
It's just really it's just going to be a live YouTube podcast essentially. But the goal is to be kind of lighthearted, make fun of one another, and not take it too serious. I get enough hate mail from my other non-paying job with Trad Lab that I'm hoping to generate some kind of a laid back, more of an entertainment than anything else. Nothing serious, just fun.
Just
We're gonna have
entertainment stuff.
Randy and Denny on the first time, and they're gonna be fun.
Oh yeah, they're always a ton of fun. You got to get Denny a little liquored up.
Yeah, I noticed that when you hear the ice cubes, rolling, you know you're gonna get a good show out of him. So
That's right.
You get those two together, and they're pretty funny. So, and it's really cool to have them on because they're big. They were big influencers to me whenever I was starting trad with Masters of the Barebow and all that good stuff. So to me, it's like interviewing your heroes. It's pretty cool.
Well, they were influencers before there was such thing as the term influencers.
Yeah, that's right. They were. We were sharing some like corny stories, and mine was I have a old Safari Tough quiver, and it was like the first Comptons I'd went to, and I saw Rod Jenkins there for the first time, and I had him sign that quiver, and I still have that quiver. It's here's my new one, but I still have the old Safari Tough quiver over there with Rod's signature on it. So it was they were big shots back in the day.
Yeah, I was hoping I was going to make it up there to that clinic that you've got going in Kansas City, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to swing it.
I didn't know if you're going to try to make it or not. They've it's filling up pretty quick.
And I need it. I went from, man, I've been shooting really good the last couple of months, and then the last couple of weeks I've kind of, which a lot of that probably has to do with I just hadn't had time to shoot. So, but I've kind of taken a little bit of a downturn. With me, it just seems like
it's interesting that you use the terminology or the phrase "a little bit of a downturn." So it seems a little watered down. I mean, I would be like, "You just really sucking right now." People have never beat you before and now beating you on a regular basis. That's usually doesn't line up with
Cameron's beat me twice in a row now.
That's your definition of a slight downturn.
Cameron can shoot though. Cameron's a good shot.
Yeah, Cameron can shoot.
He gets better
when's the Navy SEAL tryouts in Denver? When is that?
I don't know. Oh, the best of the best?
Yeah, best of the best.
Navy SEAL tryouts.
When's Westy Buds? It's Westy Buds is all it is.
It's this weekend, so I don't have much.
Oh, it's this weekend,
to get my shit
and
together.
You're not shooting well. That's interesting.
I don't know. I'll probably pull
Maybe
it out.
Maybe it's mental.
It is 100%. A lot of it is usually.
You just change your tune, you'll be fine.
I did already.
I know. You told me last night you did.
I lengthened my arrow about an inch. It's shooting better now though. I don't know. I'll pull my head out. I usually do. Usually.
Is it a 2-day tournament?
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday, and then I'm gonna try and shoot Friday also, just to get a feel for everything. And I think by Saturday comes around, I'll be all right. But man, and of course, a lot of this it's in direct correlation with my work schedule generally. And
your excuses or your shooting ability at tournament time? What are we talking about?
My shooting ability and work schedule there's a direct correlation. But there for like a month and a half, I wasn't working a whole lot, and was shooting pretty much every day. Goodness.
You don't have time to get yourself set up for the shoot. That shoot should be fun. I'm not going to get to make it. I did yesterday while I was working all day in the lab trying to get caught up. I did unfortunately listen to Stickbow Chronicles episode 196, where I was drugged through the mud a little bit. And I'd like to take this opportunity to clarify a few things, especially around me cheating. If you're not willing to walk up to the target, I'm cheating. I don't want anyone to make any excuses. That's if it's not a sanctioned.
That's not even true.
If you're not willing to burn the calories to walk up to the target, then we're going to give you whatever number you want.
The fastest I've ever seen you move is as soon as I let go of the string, Cody's running towards the target to go yank my arrow out of it.
It's embarrassing to see fives everywhere.
Oh, that's funny.
That was on the Hunters Challenge.
You've still got a chance to make it this weekend.
Oh God! So, Aaron, I can tell that I've made my way in to the cool kid circle, because you look at my history of text with Aaron, it was very formal. Now it's a repeatable circle. I won't use the curse word, but don't be a female body part. few minutes later, you're a female body part. 2 or 3 days later, don't be a female body part. A few minutes later, so that's the conversation whenever he asked if I was going to the Westy Buds tryout. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to make it. He called me a female body parts name. It was a nice part, but it wasn't, it's not, definitely not a compliment.
No, you should come. I think there's going to be a lot better shooters there this year. It sounds like Cameron's coming, and then Dan,
is Cameron going? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Cameron's coming.
Who's shooting compound on your side?
Wes Campbell, Scotty's son.
Yeah, he's a shooter.
Yeah, no, and I think, I mean, and honestly, last year it kind of came down to the trad guy, for the most part.
Which I think is cool.
It is cool, but I think this year there's going to be enough good shooters there. Scotty's partner, I saw him post the other day. I think that his partner, I can't remember the guy's name or kid's name, but I think he's a pretty good shooter. I think there's a few guys showing up that are pretty good shooters. So, which will make it fun because it'll make things a little bit more interesting. So,
got Dan showing up. I think Dan's on his way out there now. So I think it's going to be cool, and I think that tournament's going to continue to grow and get more and more fun. But I am in the process of rebuilding my shot, and I'm intentionally not going to any competition so I can rebuild my shot. But other than that, no thanks.
Yeah, well, I gotta go. I gotta leave for Arkansas as soon as we get done with this, so I'm not gonna be able to shoot the next couple days probably, but hopefully I can get home Wednesday and do some drilling and just kind of get back in a groove. I'm just so streaky sometimes, man. I get in these streaks where I'm shooting extremely well, and then it seems like it can all just leave in a matter of one day, and then it's gone, and then I don't know how to get it back. Then all of a sudden one day it'll just come back out of nowhere, and I don't really know what happened.
Yep. And I know exactly what you mean. You'll get up there and you'll calm down on day 2, but you're going to need to. The best thing you can do, you're going to have to keep Dan away from Aaron. Your strategy,
because Aaron will shoot up.
Yeah, you need Aaron to shoot down, and you shoot up, and then you can close the gap. Yeah, I tried psyops on Aaron because he's coming to Kansas.
That shit don't work.
No, it backfired. He wouldn't even respond. I'm like, am I doing this right? Am I talking trash right? Why aren't you responding? He's like, I'm not. Pressure doesn't really get to him. But after he's done with Westy Buds, he'll come to Kansas for that clinic, and I'll outshoot him here on my range.
What are you gonna do?
I'll be ready.
Back out his limb bolts 4 turns or something?
No, I'm gonna go pull his arrows. He's gonna bring his fancy glass to Kansas.
You'd probably be wrong about that.
Yeah. So what else you been up to?
Oh, just work, man. It's been crazy. I worked between Wednesday through Friday. I worked 60 hours in those 3 days, so I've been burning.
All the draws have come in by now. Did you draw any tags?
No, I kind of got hosed. Well, a little bit anyway. So I did not get an Eastern Colorado tag. The landowner only drew 1 tag. I did draw Kansas, and Tony did not draw Kansas. So I've got a Kansas tag. Tony.
That's not a problem. Just tell Tony to tell me where he was going to go, and I'll meet you there.
Well, Tony,
that's an easy solution.
Our plan right now is I'm going to let Tony have the landowner tag, and I'm going to try and get one off the leftover list and then just pay a trespass fee and try and do it that way. But if not, I told Tony that 1 tag is his tag since he didn't draw Kansas, so he'll have a Colorado tag. I'll have a Kansas tag. We'll try and get him a deer first in Colorado, then hop across the border over into Kansas and finish out the rest of the 9 days or whatever.
You going out there on the west side?
Yeah, it's far west. It's not very far from where we're hunting in Colorado. It's probably an hour and a half drive or so.
That'll be fun. Do you have any other hunts planned? I know there's been no hog hunts planned this year because I haven't received an invite. Again, a time and money correlation.
Yeah, I haven't hunted hogs myself at all, hardly. I don't know. I think we're going to go do the Aoudad hunt again with Scotty. I don't know dates or anything, but I think Aaron and Rob have been talking, trying to get something pulled together again, try and go do that again. And man, I don't know. I might try and fit in an antelope hunt in September, just a quick, 4-day hunt or something like that. Just because I have no Western tags basically right now, unless you count Kansas, and I was really banking on having that Colorado, either species tag in Colorado, and kind of struck out there. So, but I might be able to get one off the leftover list. So it's not completely down the drain just yet.
Should be interesting. Outside of that, I've got the highest level of inventory I've ever had, mainly because I'm just backlogged here. I've been busy with everything. I'm processing all these bows right now, and I've moved into, we've talked about it, but moved into the mild R&D longbows and the ASLs, and I have piles and piles of these things that I've shot side by side. And I think when I launch that YouTube channel, I'm going to try to just start putting them out, one a week or two a week. And I think that'll be a lot better than just posting on Instagram. Here's a picture of the bow and here's the draw force curve. And I'll try to give some explanations of some of those graphs, because I don't know that people know exactly what they mean, or even that if stack matters or not. And hopefully we can get into some of that on those videos. But I got a really cool, I've been studying tiller quite a bit, because I've got all these bows here, and you start looking for what makes a bow that shoots different, because you wouldn't think there's a lot that could be different on a stick. And there's some longbow or some recurves and longbows you just pick up and they shoot. No matter where you put the knock eye, they shoot. There's others where you could slightly make an adjustment and the thing no longer shoots, and then you've got what I call a smaller window of tune versus a broader window of tune. And I've come down, Blake, where I think, and I posted about this a little bit the other day, it's the bow being on plane, but also the tiller of the bow. And I've got some really interesting stuff that I don't have, it's not fact yet, but I have some signals. I have a way that I can measure tiller as I'm drawing it with my fingers. So I could measure tiller on each limb, or the amount of poundage on each limb when you drew the bow and then when I drew the bow, and see if you were pulling harder on the top or bottom limb versus me. And I think when I launch that, I think it's going to be really, really cool. I had a bunch of I had some widows here with different grips and held everything else constant, and could see tiller variances just in my own shooting. And so I hit a specific grip and the tiller was perfect. I moved another grip and it'd be slightly off. And that timing is everything for sound. And I know people, I say everything, and I shouldn't say that. It's not everything. You don't need to do what I do to go get critters, but you can go get a self bow that's way out of tiller and have a ball. But in terms of finding that bow that we all dig 100 bows through and you'll get one that you just shoot no matter what, I think I've found a few key characteristics that make them stand out. So I'm really excited about launching that. But the goal is get all that done and get it launched prior to hunting season and a busy part of my real job coming in as well. I think I've got some cool stuff coming.
What hunts do you have?
I don't have anything. I had Africa canceled because of all this stuff. So I was originally planning on being in Africa this month, actually, and going up there and kind of burning through my hunting funds. And it's my 25th anniversary. So I tricked my wife into thinking we were going to do like a European trip for our anniversary. And I was going to swing over into Africa and hunt a little bit and come back. But COVID hosed that up. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, I'm going to go hunt with Scotty this year. Try to put in some good work up there. And outside of that, I really don't know what I'm going to do, because I had that plan. So I left everything else alone. And you really need to plan. What I'm learning is you need to plan 2 or 3 years in advance, because there's a tremendous amount of variation between outfitters versus within outfitters. You can spend a lot of money on outfitters and get 3 or 4 bad outfitters, and you stand there with no money and no critters and no good experiences, versus planning ahead and getting the right outfitter and having a great experience. So I'm getting a little bit more picky about who I go with. I probably went through 3 or 4 outfitters recently that were just, you sit in the stands where the wind's wrong and it's wrong, but they're putting you in that stand no matter what. Just stuff you see and notice. You're like, oh, this guy's making money. That's all they're doing. So I'm starting to get a little picky about who I choose and where I go. So I didn't plan anything because of Africa. So this year I'm just going to be trying to hunt whitetails in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. I think I got a spot with Scotty, but I need to follow up with him.
It's pretty hard to, Scotty out there and Wes too, and all those guys out there are pretty top notch dudes. You can tell they're having fun when they're out there with you. You know what I mean? And they're not the type to kick you out of the truck and
Scotty didn't kick you out of his truck.
No, did he kick you out?
You didn't make fun of his arrows, did you? I don't know what kind of world you're living in, but it sounds like you and me had a different experience with Scotty. No, he is a great guy. He's fun, and they're good at what they do, and they take it real serious. And there's a big difference between someone that's there to just get the money and run, someone there that's trying to get you a good, when I say good hunt, like a good hunt, a good experience. So that was my first time hunting with, an outfitter like that. So now I'm kind of spoiled, but that's the plan this year. It's kind of going to be low key. I'm gonna have to try to run down some whitetails.
Yeah, you need to start applying for points in a lot of different places, because that's kind of where I'm at now. Which I kind of hosed myself this year, kind of like you were saying, is I put all my eggs in one basket, and kind of was banking on just having that tag and not really having to worry about having to have anything else. And now I'm sitting here and didn't get that tag, and I didn't draw anything in Oklahoma either. So.
And you guys could do an entire podcast. I'm not familiar with it at all. I met a guy here in Kansas that's like the master of all this stuff, and it's an entire science in of itself, gathering up points and tags and applying everywhere. And that's a whole nother body of work within hunting that you have to master.
And it's intimidating. It was, and I'm still not. Yeah, there's some states that I don't know a whole lot about, but it's intimidating when you first start getting into it, because it's a lot, because every state's a little bit different on as far as playing the draw and stuff like that. Like New Mexico and Idaho, for example, it's all lottery. There's no preference point system. There's no nothing. So when you put in, there's a percentage of the tags in whatever unit for whatever species that go into a random draw for non-residents. And then you've got systems like, Wyoming's got the special draw and the regular draw, and it's a preference point system. And then Colorado, I honestly like the way that states do things differently, because like in Colorado, you can pretty much know when you're going to get the tag for the most part. And then, states like Arizona's a preference point system, but they've also give random tags. So like you could draw the Arizona strip with 0 points in theory if you got lucky. But yeah, no, it's a lot, and I'm certainly not as well versed on it as a lot of other people, but I try and at least build points in all the states that I can build points in, not necessarily because I think I'm going to hunt there all the time, but when I do get ready to hunt there, I'll have some points and I can go have a good hunt when I want to go.
Yeah, I think it's something I'm going to have to learn. I know I was speaking to Denny, I think it was yesterday, and he said he almost plans a hunt a month. He's got it kind of figured out where he has a hunt a month. And I think that's what I heard him saying. I was like, I've got to sit him down one of these days and figure out how to put that together, because I would love to have that situation in front of me. You say you didn't draw Oklahoma, you didn't draw McAllister?
No, well, I come to find out, they're basically, so because of COVID, last year only half the people that drew got to go, and then the other half of the people are going this year. So all the people that applied this year just got a point and weren't actually in the draw, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah, Daniel had told me it was going to be a tough year.
Yeah,
to draw there, so that must be it.
That's why. And I didn't figure that out until after the draw. But no, and I put in for a couple other hunts in Oklahoma and didn't draw anything. I think Daniel drew an elk tag in Oklahoma.
Yeah, he did. I'm going to try to take off work and go help him, just for my own experience. Just go pack out for him. I think him and his brother both got one.
No kidding.
It looks like a really cool hunt. So I'm just going to go up there and.
Cameron's went. He drew a cow tag up there one year.
Did he drop it?
Huh? Oh yeah, he got one. It was a rifle hunt, but
yeah, his is rifle as well.
Yeah,
But
Yeah, no, it looks like a cool hunt. I've driven by that mountain range several times and looks like
same
a cool
here.
hunt.
Yeah. I'm going to go down there and help him try to, just from my own experience, just pack the animal out and kind of tag along and see how they do. But I'm pretty excited about that. I'm going to try to do a DIY bear hunting in Atlanta this year for the fall, if I can time the acorns dropping when they should. I've been looking at some maps there to give that a shot. I'm just digging stuff up, looking for something to hunt since my kind of plans fell through. But outside of that, it's grinding out the boring work, doing a lot of blank bale and rebuilding my shot. And I haven't done any 3Ds this year to speak of, some local little stuff. And I'm fixing to go probably hog hunt in Oklahoma a little bit, maybe in Missouri, but that'll tide me over until deer season's here.
Who are you going with in Oklahoma? Rick?
Yeah, a buddy of Rick's. Yeah.
Do what?
Go out there and it's a buddy of his.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'll go out there and hunt with him. And he's got a lot of hogs out there in that part of the country. Well, you know where that's at since I was real close to you actually.
Yeah, it's not too far from me.
My contact in northern Texas fell through this year and hasn't invited me to a hog hunt. Piece of trash.
I haven't invited myself to a hog hunt yet this year, and it's 30 minutes from my house.
That's pretty terrible.
Yeah, I've went a couple of times and just sat for an hour or two, but I haven't done any like hardcore at night walking around and spotting and stalking like I usually do. And that's the best way to get some opportunities. Sitting over bait, it's kind of hit or miss. So
yeah,
doing it like we did it last year is the best way to do it.
Yeah, that was amazing. I don't know if I'll ever see that again, but that was fun. But I'll hit that up, and we're talking about a guy here I met here in Kansas. We're talking about going to Arkansas and scouting a little bit for some public bear there as well. But that's more just having something to do. Your probabilities of seeing a critter are pretty low, but just putting a pack on and walking around and having fun.
Well, you posted something on Instagram the other day. You had laser levels and shit going everywhere, and you kind of got dog pounded. What was that about?
You're gonna bring that up, huh?
Yeah, Drew dog pounded you.
Drew from Selway.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Yeah. A guy. I was hauling my RV. I was hauling my trailer down. I'm trying to tow in the middle of downtown Kansas City, and I'm screaming and arguing with Drew on the phone at the same time. And Drew's a good guy. I like Drew, and Drew made a good point in a sense. So I don't want, and he's not on here to defend himself, but he was not in the wrong at all. He didn't have to take down a statement. His concern was actually a more valid one than some of the others. And I did a repost where people say, "Does this matter?" And what I don't want to do is make people think you've got to go get a bow and put level lasers on it and get it perfectly straight and have everything perfect in order to kill an animal. What I also don't want people to do is think the bow doesn't matter. And they hear that a lot. And the guy jumped on there that just won longbow division, won the whole shoot, great shooter. And, he said, "You're just making excuses because you don't have consistency." There's a world of difference between shooting a good bow and a bad bow. And it's no different than guitar lessons is the analogy I use. If you want to learn to play the guitar and you go pick up $100 guitar and it's super hard to play, the music industry is probably not going to retain you. If you come in here and you pick up a bow that's really cool, but hard to shoot. So an ASL, a hill style bow, which I love. And I have a ton of them and I love them and I love the history and I know what it's all about, but they are more difficult to shoot. If you want to start with that, you're going to have a tough road to hoe. And when I'm studying these wood bows, there's a lot of variation from wood bow to wood bow. If you grab 6 wood bows from your favorite bowyer, you may get 6 completely different shooting bows. And I'll be honest with you, the more bows I test, the more I see a lack of partitioning. I mean, that $600 to $800 range is kind of empty. And a bowyer either makes a $200 to $500 bow, or they make a $1,000 to $1,500 bow. And there's just not a lot in the middle. So when I go to that top end and really start comparing those bows, there are some bows that need to be moving down in price range, and there's some bows that are right where they need to be. And what I'm trying to do is show people the difference. And it gets people upset, and I'm somewhat used to that. But in that case, I posted a picture of some limbs that I had studied, a year and a half, 2 years ago. and the limb alignment was off. And people were like, that's a tough measurement to take. And I'm like, well, biter gauges, I mean, forget lasers. You can just put biter gauges on there and look at your limb alignment. It's not very difficult to manage. And I deal with that a lot. People also think that maybe I alter the results, but I have I have enough results. I don't need to alter results. I don't get paid by anybody. So I fought those folks off, and most of them are real nice whenever you reach out to them and talk to them one-on-one. And the ones that aren't, you just tell them, just block me and move on. But it's a real weird world, because I just posted a pair of limbs without naming the bowyer that were about an 1/8 inch out of alignment no matter what you did. And when you lowered off a draw, that string would roll right off. That's how bad it was. And it wasn't because the alignment system itself was off. The limbs were wrong. I notified the bowyer. We root caused it. I never talked about it, never named the bowyer. It was not Bob Lee. There was a rumor that it was Bob Lee. It was not Bob Lee. It was not Border. I wasn't trying to attack anybody. If I wanted to attack them, I could attack some bowyers. There's some bowyers that make some really terrible products. It would be very easy for me to attack bowyers. I could, like I said, it'd be really easy for me to do that, but there's no value in that. I'm trying to help the bowyers and help customers find the right bow. But I had a bowyer gripe at me about it, and I told him if I had to pick a side, I'm always going to be on the consumer side, and that's kind of where I'm at. But there were some people that made great points, and there were some people that tell me they don't want me to overcomplicate everything, and then whenever they talk about measuring a bow, they make it very complicated, and you can't have the best of both worlds. So that's
the thing. That's what always people take things personally, and I get that. I'm certainly guilty of it too. Somebody talks crap about something that I'm using that I know that I've had really good luck with. I mean, it stings a little bit, but at the end of the day, I'm confident enough in myself and my equipment that I pick that I really don't care what anybody else thinks.
Yeah.
And if you have something that you're confident in, you shouldn't care what Cody thinks. If you're confident in it, who cares? The thing, and you said it, is if you wanted to attack a bowyer, because I've talked to you about some of this stuff, you could really hurt some companies, but that's not why you do it. You do it to help them improve their product.
Yeah.
And instead of posting that stuff on your website or on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, you're taking those metrics and taking it back to the bowyer and saying, hey, here's what I found. Let's figure out what's causing it. And you're trying to help them. And
Yep.
in turn, you're trying to help the consumer get a better product at the end of the day. So
Yep.
I just,
it's hard to find. Anyone that's shot trad for long enough knows that it's hard to find the right bow that shoots. And the common answer is it's different for everyone. I really don't know if that's true, or if it's more true to say if I bought 6 bows from the exact same bowyer and they have the exact same model, maybe only 1 or 2 of those would shoot well for me, because there's so much variation, because it's a wood bow made by a person that doesn't have the right high-end equipment. So you're going to get variation from bow to bow. And man, you can buy a lot of bows, and I've done this, and until you find one that shoots for you. And what I'm trying to do is define, what does that really mean? My theory as I sit here today, and I'll probably listen to this recording a year from now and think I'm, an idiot, I'm wrong, but my leading theory as I stand here today is it does come down to bows that are tillered really well and bows that are on plane in terms of wood bows, because you can adjust all that stuff on LLA. And what we do is we buy it, and then we can't get it to shoot, or we love it. I love every bow I've purchased. I still do. It eats me up. I'm supposed to be unbiased. Every new bow that comes in here is my favorite bow for at least 48 hours. Like, this is the greatest bow on the planet. Every new bow I get excited about, and I shoot it. I'm like, I'm dropping everybody else. I'm shooting this for the rest of my life. And after 2 or 3 weeks, I go through, 15 or 20, 300 rounds, and it starts showing up. So I start trying to define what makes a bow shoot well. And it's coming down to a few key metrics, and it's very difficult for a bowyer to do that, but there are some that do it very, very well, and there's some that don't. So the other thing I want people to remember, if I pick up, I can't afford to buy 5 to 20 bows of every model and test variation within. So if I get a bow that doesn't shoot well, or if somebody else does and they post about it, and you have one that shoots great, you may have a slightly different feeling bow or model, and it's really not that big of a deal. But it's to each their own, and in the long run, I know we're saving people some money, but people also just want to have fun and try different bows out.
Oh, there's nothing wrong with any of it. And people, when they listen to this stuff, they kind of hear what they want to hear, I figured out. So, in other words, we can sit here and say, be a better hunter, do this. I mean, there's other things to concentrate on other than, the minutia that we like to talk about a lot of times.
Yeah.
But the minutia of all of it is what's, I guess what's fun. I mean, it's fun to talk about the minutia.
That's right. What else are we going to do, right? That's right.
But we can sit here and say that, iron will broadheads aren't going to jump off the string and heat-seeking missile a deer. I mean, it's not going to kill the deer for you. You've still got. I mean, there's a lot of other things you need to worry about.
I have validated that theory. So that's for sure. And the catch of it all is, you don't want to get into the minutia and talk about all this stuff because they say it doesn't matter, and they're right. A much more significant factor is being a good enough hunter, so giving yourself opportunities, and B, hitting what you aim at whenever you get the opportunity. Those are much bigger. Tony Tall proves that all the time. The guy shoots a self bow and has crooked arrows and kills stuff left and right. He's a good shooter. He's a good hunter. But we're not allowed to talk about that either on social media. That's actually a hotter topic than the equipment. People would much rather you pick at the equipment and the type of wood or the type of carbon fiber than they would say, all right, everyone, send me data on what you're shoot 300 rounds and let me know what that is, and I'll tell you what your probability to hit something at 20 yards. Nobody wants to talk about that. That's a big no-no to talk about that. So it's a catch-22, and people need to realize that Ashby left hunting skills and shooting skills out of lethality for a reason, because if you'd have put them in there, none of the stuff we talk about matters at all. Completely insignificant.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the point to make is, I don't know. I feel like we circle this rabbit hole all the time, but Cody's here to try and help people and help save people money, and Drew. We can disagree and still all be friends. There's a lot of shit I disagree with Cody on. There's shit that, like Drew getting on there and disagreeing with Cody on. I mean, they're all valid points, and it's all, most of the time, both parties are usually right.
Yeah, Drew was right. He made a good point. Yeah.
In a lot of ways. And,
the only ones, Drew was right, because his point was, this stuff may not matter as much, so that's fair. What bothers me, if you tell me I'm throwing results, or if you're telling me I can't take a measure and you don't know how I take a measure, or you don't know what I do for a living, then at least call me and I'll put you on these cameras and I'll run you through the test. If you're a bowyer and you think I've altered your results, let's go live on Facebook and I'll run your damn bow through my test live with you watching. I've had bowyers tell me that shooting machines slow their bows down. Well, that's horseshit. They don't slow your bow down as long as they're.
That doesn't even make any sense.
None of it does. And you got to remember that people, they're emotional. This is what they do for a living, right? And my tests are courtroom ready, and I work really hard to make sure I have accurate measures. And that's also why my work is so boring. I'm sitting here nitpicking through. I was sending people graph yesterday, a 3 foot per second difference between two strings, excited about it. And for the most part, people try to ignore me, but I'm in here picking through the minutia, looking for any kind of difference. And every now and then I'll find an outlier, but I'm really careful about what I measure and how I measure it, especially when I'm dealing with bows, because these people are earning money for their families. But on the other end of the equation, these guys and gals are spending money to get bows, and they need to get they need to get good value for their dollar. And that doesn't mean $1,000 bow. Samick Sage is a great bow. Old Mountain Mesa, outstanding bow. There's some really good bows out there in that $200 to $400 range. They're just outstanding. The guys will just outshoot you night and day with them.
Well, yeah, I mean, you give a guy like Aaron, I mean, you give him an ASL, and I can guarantee you that if he put the time in it, he didn't
even need to put the time. That's not a theoretical conversation. I ambushed him down in the Davis Mountains. I got him away from his widow. No, what was he shooting? He was shooting his metal bow, but I got him away from his bow. We were away from the truck, and I gave him my D bow, my damn Super D, my Toki. and my wood arrows that weren't tuned to him. He'd never shot a debow in his life. I'm like, let's go stunt. I was going to lay it on him. And if I ever beat him, it's going to be on film and it'll be on social media before he can delete it, you know? Some bitch beat me. So, I mean, and he'd never shot one before. So, I mean, that's what a good bow arm will get you. But he can shoot. Shooters can shoot. But I
Yeah,
guarantee you, before people go out and buy an ASL and say it's the Indian, not the bow, he can outshoot himself with his metal bows or his
exactly.
PA than he can with that. So I don't want to hear.
That's the
Yeah.
point I was kind of circling around to, is just because so and so can shoot the hell out of an ASL doesn't mean that everybody can shoot the hell out of an ASL.
No.
You
And
know,
I shoot.
who's that older man Dave Wallace? Is that right?
Yeah. The Iceman, Dave Wallace. Yeah.
Yeah, that guy, from what I've heard you talk about him and others, will wear your ass out with a D
Yeah.
style with a longbow.
But he makes himself, and he's got great form. And if he ever picks up a WF-29, he's going to turn the world upside down. Dan will have to go pick up golf if that old man picks up a WF-29. But
Yeah, well, that's my point. And well, like I'll use another guy as an example, Delano Carniero. I don't know if I'm saying his name right or not. He's a Texas dude, just super good guy. Shows up at shoots with like halfway tuned arrows, shoots instinctive, and it's like I might shoot a tab this week, or this is a glove that I found in my trunk on the way to the shoot,
right,
and we'll wear your ass out.
and
And I
he's
mean,
yeah, I think he's
he's
instinctive. Sometimes he may have gone to gap, but I watched him shoot, and he shoots really good.
no, he's a great shot.
I beat him at
And
arm wrestling. I think is that the guy you're talking about?
I don't know. I
No,
don't know.
he's a power lifter guy. He's a monster.
No, he's just he's one of those guys. He's just a shooter, and I mean, I'm sure he has bad days like everybody else, but he's shows up with some arrows he found in his garage that aren't tuned to his bow, and just shows up at a shoot and just wears people out with it. And there's some people that are just that way, but you can't argue. And Delano's kind of one of those people like, you're overcomplicating stuff. It's like, well, you can't tell me as good a shot as Delano is that if he dove down into some of this stuff a little bit and um, got a little more geeked out on it. Not saying that he, doesn't know what he's doing or whatever, but um, Delano could certainly improve and be an
Yeah,
even better shot. You know what I mean?
but the most significant thing in competition is nerves, right? And those guys that can stand up there with ice in their veins,
Yeah, 100%.
they can beat you if you got a RU rig or they don't call it RU barebow rig anymore. But the best example that I've seen, both statistically and practically, Dan's a great shooter. You and I shot with him in IBL Worlds. Great shooter. Everyone's been talking about him lately, but he's been a good shooter for several years. He went from a WF-27, and this year I knew I wasn't going to shoot any 3D because I'm working on my shot. I sent him my WF-29, and he picked up points going from a WF-27 to a WF-29. Now, it's one thing if a lousy shooter picks up points like myself, you shoot 240, 250, 260. I should be able to be a little bit more sensitive to improvements. But when a guy at that level can pick up a slightly different riser and say, yeah, I can shoot the difference, that's saying something, right? Those little bitty things start stacking up. And if you look at these top guys that are in the game, when I say top five, they're all within a few points of one another.
Yeah, it just depends on the day.
Yeah, they're all within a few points. So that's all. And then, everybody's got a good point. If it doesn't matter to you, go shoot. But if you're telling me, and I've had people tell me that they kill everything they shoot at, brother, go videotape your hunts, show me 20 of them, and I'll believe you. But until then, I track quite a few people that will tell the truth. It's hard to get a streak of 15 or 20 in a row. And the people that argue online kind of create this false sense of a mean, of an average. And then other people feel terrible about themselves when they're actually really good shots. But it's because of this.
That's why I try and be honest. I've wounded stuff, and I've been pretty open about it, or missed stuff, or whatever. I mean, it just happens, man. It's a tough. We go out hog hunting at night. Shit, I might bat 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. I mean, just.
It's the key. This is the key right here.
Yeah, you gotta have plenty of arrows.
Well, no, see how big this quiver, I got an Arrowmaster here, how big, I can cover it up in the pictures. You don't see the 15 holes that you got there. And that's the secret.
Oh, that's
But,
funny. No, I mean,
no,
I
it,
just, I hate to, I don't know. I keep circling and circling back. I just, yeah, it just, I feel like people get a false sense of what everybody else's expectation, or what, a false expectation of what they should be doing or what they should be like because of social media. And, I feel like I can shoot, about as well as most people, and I'm pretty good at keeping my shit together, and I still miss and I still wound stuff.
right.
Just,
And
just
no,
happens.
that's the problem. It's not, and it's a good problem to have, but if people watch folks like Dwayne shoot, Dan shoot, Aaron Hunt, they're going to create a view of a standard. And those people aren't the standard. They are true. I'm sure the term outliers means something different to me than it does other people, but they are true outliers. There's nothing within a normal distribution about those top tier people. They have their 10,000 hours in doing what they do, and they're very good at doing what they do. And we don't want them to become the standard. They are the outliers. They are the people that are,
100%.
and
And we kind of
you
talked
should,
about that on the last Empty Quiver. It actually hadn't posted yet, but I feel like that there's the benchmark of like accuracy is like moved out to 40 yards now for some reason. And, um, yeah, like I said, that episode hadn't dropped yet, but it's 40 yards is a long damn ways. And I
yeah.
don't think
And
people understand that. 40
no, and
yards, I mean, there's days where I can look like a rock star at 40 yards, just like, Aaron looks like a rock star at 40 yards most days. But, I'm sure Aaron will tell you, and I'll damn sure tell you, there's certainly days that, I'm having a hard time keeping it in the target at 40 yards. Like 40 yards is a
yeah,
long ways, and it doesn't take a whole lot of
I,
screwing up to,
I don't
to
want people to
miss.
have that expectation themselves because they'll leave. You get good at for years and years and years until I met just 2 or 3 years ago, until I met the people that knew how to shoot. I limited myself to 12 and 15-yard shots because that's all I could do. So people, if you went and shot with Aaron Snyder and you shot 80% under him, he would not make fun of you because that's about normal. And if you go to IBO Worlds and you shoot with the best there are, you are going to shoot 80% of them, and they absolutely will not make fun of you. They won't even blink an eye. You'll be sitting there feeling an inch tall. They won't even blink an eye because they know that's normal, and they'll try to help you. You saw them there when you went there. They
Well,
weren't
the
walking
difference
around.
is, and with the trad bow, the difference, but it's not like a compound. You can't like, I mean, the difference between a good day and a bad day with a compound might be 10, 15 points, The difference between a good day and a bad day with a stick bow
Right.
on a 30 target course could be, 80 or 100 points. Same
No,
shooter,
absolutely.
same shooters.
Yeah.
And it doesn't
Yeah.
take a whole lot with these things to, to have an off day. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, if you can get really good at 20 yards like that, go hunting, man. Like
Heck yeah, go hunting.
for,
Hell, if you can
for,
get good at 10, 15, what's the average? I used to have these stats in my head. I think it's 12 to 15 yards
yeah,
when
I
I was
mean,
tracking the average shot.
people have this false, like that they have to be good at 35 or 40 yards before they can go hunting or before they're good or considered good. And that's false.
It's
That is
absolutely false.
100% false.
It's false. But
Um,
that's good information to get out there, and everyone thinks Aaron's, what's the word? Not confident. They use arrogant, but he's just confident, and he's not. Like I said, he wouldn't make fun of you if you shot terrible because terrible is average. If you know what I mean. You and I have talked about this, and I don't know how to articulate it, but average is actually really, really, really low. And we all listen to and watch people that shoot really, really high. If you want a good measure, shoot a 300 round. And I think a really good goal is to get to 250. And I think any reasonable and prudent person with a little bit of, feet in their shoes and brains in their head can get themselves to 250 pretty easy with a little bit of
yeah, and I
work.
mean anything over, honestly, with a hunting bow, if you're shooting anything over 220 on a 300 round, you're above average more than
That's right.
likely.
Right.
Uh, and
Way above average, way above average.
yeah, so we create these, and I'm guilty of it too. I take pictures of the good groups, but like I said, at 40 yards, some days my groups are, 14, 15 inches. There's just days where it just isn't connecting. And the 40 yards, I practice at 40 yards because anything that I do wrong, it magnifies it. I don't practice at 40 yards because I feel like I have to shoot 40 yards to go hunting. So I think that's a good point to drive home is if and like you said, all the people that are that people are looking up to are typically, for the most part, really good at what they do.
Yeah.
They're the outlier. They're the one percenters. So don't base your own. That's certainly, it's not a bad thing to have goals, right? But don't base whether or not you're worthy of or whatever. Don't base your self-worth on how you compare to Aaron Snyder or Dwayne Martin or whoever. That's not a winning proposition, more than likely, because those guys, and you and I have talked about it. Aaron shoots shit, I don't know, 200-300 arrows a day, and there's a lot of weeks that go by where I don't shoot 200 or 300 arrows.
Right.
It's just that's not a good baseline, I guess.
And it's important because they just did that podcast with Dwayne and Rod, where people heard it. He's not shooting 300 fun arrows a day. He's shooting drills. I mean, that stuff's not fun to do. He's shooting out of blinds. He's shooting out of tree stands. And Dwayne does the same thing. Daniel does the same thing. I can't remember the number Daniel quoted me on those. I got some limbs of his. He quoted me like thousands of shots he'd already put through them, and he hadn't had those limbs very long.
Yeah, and most people can't do that, man. That's not normal. Most people can't do that. So
yeah,
if you're going to shoot 25% as many arrows as those guys, and you expect the same result that those guys are getting with 25% of the work, it's not realistic. It's not doable. I mean, it's just, put the amount of work in that you can put in and still have a family life. You're not taking away from your job. You're not taking away from your family. Put as much work in as you can. That's not what I'm saying. But don't expect to have the same results that those other guys are getting, because you're not going to get them. And that's okay, because those guys are the best in the world at what they do for a reason. And that it just is what it is. You don't have to be the best in the world to go hunting or to go shoot 3Ds and have fun.
Or have the best equipment. So I think that's the message that I would try to get across, because I've done the study I'm studying lethality. I can guarantee you, I've already got signals that are very, very clear to me. And I know it sounds like common sense, because it is, but it's very, very clear to me. If you hit what you're aiming at, you don't have to really worry about lethality. And that's why people get angry when we talk about high-end broadheads and this, that, and the other, because we make it sound like absolutes, but put it where it needs to be, and you're probably going to have pretty good luck. But everything you do to stack the odds in your favor benefits you. And I think our capability in real life is usually very different than what we portray on social media for a lot of people. I used to be that person, especially when I first started Trad Lab. After I was introduced to, I went to Aaron's first Kifaru cast. I thought he was going to kick the shit out of me, actually, but he didn't. I went to that first Kifaru cast and recorded it, and I let that get in my head. And then I went to IBO Worlds and shot like an average of a -2, because I had a house of cards in my head of who I had built I was versus my capability. So now I'm very, very careful about, you'll never hear me talk about my capability beyond where it's at. I try to be very self-aware. And I think that's really important. But to your point, it's also important to don't wait until you're perfect. Get out there and go hunt. Let them get close. It's not too hard to get close.
Nope. No, I feel like we beat a dead horse, but again, it just seems like people hear what they want to hear when they listen to all this crap, and they'll pull out the one little snippet of something that we said and spin it however they need to spin it to be mad at us. So,
yep. So that's the general message, and I haven't changed that in the last year or two. And I'd like people to judge me on my predictions. So if I'm suggesting a bow and you get it and it's garbage, let me know. Let me know publicly, like post publicly, like, Cody, you're an idiot. This is a terrible bow, because that'll help me, actually. And that's what I should be held accountable for. But if I'm making predictions and you're getting those bows and they're good, then apparently my numbers are working. I said the same thing. I've used a lot of blinds and I can't hunt with a trad bow out of them. And Aaron had suggested that, what's that, Zinnick brand or something. I got it and I hunted out of it. And that's the value. Because I don't really like influencers. I'm definitely not an influencer. And I think a lot of influencers are fake. And most influencers, you should hold them accountable to their predictions. If they make a prediction that a boot or an arrow or a bow or a blind or a stand is good and it's not, then what value are they? And the ones that are getting paid to support a limited number of brands are really, really at a disadvantage if you hold them to that metric. And the folks that go and do and learn by going and doing and trying everything and recommend and they're right, that's a really great way to measure if an influencer should or should not be an influencer. And
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And obviously the podcast here is sponsored, but cross my heart, hope to die. Scout's honor. I will not ever promote something or shoot something or wear something that I wouldn't be wearing otherwise. So, you know, I've I don't know. I've said it before. Like whenever Rob asked me to come on and start helping, I was like, man, I just I'm going to shoot what I want. I just kind of want to make that clear. And next year, if it's not a widow, it's not a widow. But, I think that's important to have a level of transparency. And I understand that some people have to make a living doing some of this stuff, but, just it's not hard to spot that stuff. It's really not.
I don't think so either. So that's the general plan of attack, and that's how I view the world. And if people would listen to influencers and hold them accountable for their predictions, it would be very, very easy to narrow down the world of influencers and figure out who's adding value and who's not. And I try to leave all of my emotions out, and I have emotions like that I want to. I've deleted so many posts because I like the way a bow looks, and and I can't do that really. I gotta stick with the facts. But that's what I'm trying to do, is make good predictions and be accurate with them, and cut through some of the myths. There are myths that are out there, and then there are facts that get buried. And there are people who are making a living out of myths, and they don't like me, and that's the way it goes.
Well, I need to get you on a public land hunt at some point, you and I. Like
I'm
out
ready
west.
to go. Let's say when. I'm ready.
Okay.
Well, I'm not ready now, but I'm working out on a regular basis, and that's my eye-opening thing last year. Everyone gave me trouble because I hunted all year long. I hunted all year long. I'm like, I got this figured out. And then my last hunt was, up in the Davis Mountains, and I didn't even go up the mountains. I drove by the mountain. And Aaron's like, yeah, those are normal mountains. And it was a steep grade. I said, you go up that mountain? He goes, yeah, I go up that mountain. I said, with a pack? He said, yeah. I said, okay. I got to go do some squats and deadlifts because there's no way I can go do that stuff. And it's given me a new reason to hunt. Yeah. You did it with COVID, I think. So, I mean, you're tough as nails. I don't know how you did that, but that's given me a whole new reason to hunt. It's not for the animals. It's for the kind of the mental toughness and developing the ability to be who I want to be during the moment of the shot, whether that makes sense or not. But it's given me a whole new reason to hunt. I'm really excited about it. But I tried to do a draw tag up by Aaron, but I didn't draw in Colorado this year. It was a tough year on draws, but I'm ready to go anytime.
Yeah, I was a sick puppy by the time that hunt was over with. I hunted myself into the dirt.
Yeah, that was how many days were you there?
4. And Wes, I was trying to keep up with Wes, and that dude can put it on. He can walk.
He can walk. He can walk.
But
that's the plan this year. Is it's much more than the bows. It's about your physical fitness. It's about your mental toughness. It's about your ability, and just getting in the reps. And you gotta be self-aware enough to know how ignorant you are in order to progress. And tough to do that on social media for some people.
Yeah, just got to be honest with yourself, man.
But yeah, other than that, I'm just waiting on these Texans to invite me to a hog hunt. I'll be ready to go this summer.
Holler at Tim King.
Tim, he has invited me down. Actually, he's an actual good person.
What was that you posted the other day about Texans? You said I deal with 2 Texans on a regular basis.
Yeah. Well, I figured that's why I was on here, because there's 2 Texans I deal with on a regular basis when it's not football season, and it's Tim and Blake, and both of them have this chronic desire to hand out "I told you so's," and they, like, Blake will call you, like, you won't hear from Blake for 4 months, and they're like, "Hey, I need you to get on a podcast this afternoon." And the first thing I'm like, "All right, what I do? What am I wrong about?" I start going through what kind of ambush meeting this could be. And Tim is someone I leverage for subject matter expert. He got me on the 4 feathers and all that stuff. And he's a great guy, great hunter, good soul. And he's got a lot of good predictions, as do you, Blake. Really good predictions. Sometimes I disagree with them and sometimes I'm wrong. And the Texans always seem to have that check ready and waiting for me to the "I told you so" check. And he got me on some woolly whispers while they're dry, doing well in my silencer study test. So I made a little post for him about it. He was right and I was wrong. But you guys are pretty big on "I told you so's." Must be a Texas thing.
It might be. I like handing them out because I'm not very smart. So whenever I get to feel smart, I like to hand them out.
All right, man. I've got another call fixing to hop on right now.
All right, dude. Well, last minute, not sure if it was worth a damn or not, but we've got an episode.
Delete it if you need to. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. See ya.
Right. Bye.